Proud Donegal man, born in Dublin. Didn't get the suntan in Dublin, but great Irishman. You may have seen when he was on the Tonight Show, which was NTV3 there, must be a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Kevin spoke up. Kevin Sharkey, who I'm going to introduce. Give him a clap. Give him a big welcome. Kevin very bravely spoke up about the injustice of the Irish state taking money off taxpayers and transferring it to people who've just arrived in the country, importing them and supporting them at taxpayers' expense, while older people especially, who in times of poverty built up this country and no one's helping them. Ladies and gentlemen, artists, now in Ireland, you know, politically, we've got lots of con artists. But the Irish Freedom Party, we've now got a proper artist, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kevin Sharkey. Give him a welcome.
And welcome to Quay. Kevin O'Harkey crossed the lab, dridge the vela was nabe a canch. And to those of you who don't understand Irish, and I'm sure a lot of you do, that means Kevin Sharkey, sit down, stop talking. And I didn't, and I never have, and I never will, because I was born, my mother is from Dublin. I was born in Dublin, and I was born in the mother and baby's home in Dublin. And Michael D. Higgins should be marched out of Áras an Uachtaráin for what he has just done to the Irish people. My mother gave birth to me, and she was treated very badly by the nuns in the home. And she was told after 6 weeks when she came back to see me one day, he's gone to a better place. And my mother wept and she said, but I didn't want you to give away my son. And they told her, go on about your business. I didn't see that woman for 37 years before I found her. And Michael D. Higgins has just allowed not just the records of the people who sold children to the Americans, red hair and green eyes were the most popular, but those they couldn't sell, such as me, now there wasn't a big call for black babies in 1961, but I'll tell you this, what they did do was they allowed me to be vaccinated. They were paid to test vaccinations on all of us, and that's why they want to seal those records, because the Irish government was culpable in all of that. It was responsible for every single child who was abused through that system. It was sanctioned by the Irish government, and sealing those records is a sin. And I'm not a great believer in sin, because some of the people who taught me about sin were the biggest sinners I've ever met. Now, where I grew up in Donegal, it was a very small fishing village. I was the only black kid in the village. Now, you might expect that would make me somebody who's picked on, somebody who wasn't treated well. The opposite was the case. What I experienced was real Irish hospitality, real Irish love. They didn't look at me as an outsider, they brought me inside. They were good people, and they are still good people. And I've watched over the years Irish people being silenced, being told, wait, be quiet, go to the back of the queue. My mother, if she'd made a pot of stew and walked past us with empty plates and went next door to feed the kids next door, she'd have been in the mental hospital on Monday morning. And that's what's happening in this country right now. Irish people are being told, you don't matter. We have a program here, which means you are end of the queue. You're at the back of the system. So don't let anybody tell you, because you're proud to be Irish, that makes you a racist. That's bullshit. Bullshit. You know, and right now, it's great to see so many people up here finding humor in this situation, because that's what the Irish do. They find a way to look on the bright side of things, but right now, it is very, very dark. I went recently to a few different places around Europe, and what I saw was the destruction, not just of working class people, but working class dreams, ideals. The multinational companies at the moment are all open. They're doing great business. The stock market is through the roof. So when people tell you about the destruction of the economies, no, they're telling you about the destruction of your job, your future, and your children, because the multinationals are thriving. They're making a fortune right now, and nobody, not one journalist in this country, not one reporter, nobody in RT, and I'm ashamed to say I once worked for that crowd, not one of them is asking the intelligent questions. And for me, life is a strange thing. You find yourself in all sorts of strange situations. But to be sharing a stage with Dolores Cahill, one of the most beautiful, brilliant women we have in this country today, is an honor. This woman is a legend, and in years to come, they will have her on a stamp, they'll put her on money, and they should do, because she's one of the few people in this country who's standing up, not just telling the truth, but telling it from a point of authority, and she should be listened to. They should have her on RTE every single night, and the fact that they don't is a disgrace, and shame on you, RTE. Shame on you. You know, life is short, and people deserve to be able to enjoy it, and what we have right now, it's not even a lockdown. This is martial law. You can call it what you want. This is martial law. And I have a friend, he's a very good friend. His mother is in a nursing home now. She's an old lady and she's got Alzheimer's. Every evening she cries because her son hasn't been to see her. And the nurse explains to her, there's COVID-19, there's the coronavirus, and she settles down. But the next day, she's forgotten. So she goes through this pain every day. She thinks they've abandoned her. She thinks that their children have abandoned her after a lifetime of looking after her. And that's the blood that these people have on their hands, and they do. And Dr. Varadkar, he's supposed to know better. He's a doctor. If he doesn't know, then he should know. So is it ignorance or is it malevolence? Because at this stage it's starting to look like this is intended. This is actually about destroying your freedoms, and that's why I joined the Irish Freedom Party, because it's one of the few organisations actually standing up for Irish people. And when my sister, I have an adopted family, so all my family was white. But when my sister says what I say, she's shut down. You're a racist. You can't say that. We were brought up to believe that being Irish meant something. I had 37 medals for Irish dancing by the time I was 11, right? I think right? I'll tell you. I don't know to this day if I was any good at the Irish dancing, but I'm sure half the times they thought, but you look at the little black fella, isn't he great? He can do all the moves. 37 medals. But I'll tell you, the reason I mention that is because I had to ask myself, as a black man growing up in Donegal, what makes you Irish? What is it that makes you Irish? And you know, in the end, I concluded that it was gratitude. It was gratitude for the country that you lived in. It was gratitude for the people who looked after you, who cared about you. And that is now something that has been turned into something very, very ugly. If you don't support the European dream, if you don't support your rights being taken away for your fishing, look at Killybegs, one of the greatest fishing ports in Ireland, possibly in the world, and now it's a husk because of what they've done to the economy, what they've done to the fishing economy, what they've done to the people of Ireland, and you're expected to sit back and take it. Well, as Dolores says, enough is enough. You know, people talk about who are they that are doing all this. What we now know that we didn't know 1 year ago is they've come out of the shadows. Bill Gates, a man who can't keep viruses out of a computer, wants to keep them out of you. Look, Michael D. Higgins, possibly the only man ever to fly on Ryanair and not complain about the legroom. That man has serious questions to answer, not just about his time at this, as the scout leader of Ireland, but he needs to be questioned about what he did and what he didn't do while all of the abuse that was going on in those places. The mother and baby's home, this one thing which they have swept under the rug, it's not going to go away, and it shouldn't be allowed to go away. Who's going to be alive in 75 years? And the reason that they've all come together to do this, and what's happening to us right now, is that protesters were getting louder and louder and louder and louder, and they were saying, no, we do not like this, we will not stand for this, and we will not let people take our freedoms away from us. So that's why this is happening. You look, where are the protesters in Paris now? Gone. Where are the protesters in Hong Kong? Gone. So this pandemic, and there is no pandemic, by the way, it's bullshit. There is no pandemic. This is just a cover for taking away your freedoms and putting you back in your place. And you cannot let that happen. And you cannot let this small group of people, and they're a very, very small group of people, and they are scared because they know that if the penny drops, they will be torn limb from limb. There's far more of us than there is of them. You know, I grew up believing the bullshit that they tell you on television about the Cold War, about the Russians are coming to get us. Look at America. America has a defense budget. It's not a defense budget, it's an offense budget. America's the biggest terrorists in the world, and they go out there and they destroy countries and then they rebuild them. You can go to Iraq now and you can cross the George Bush Bridge, built by his brother-in-law. What's really going on there is piracy. And when you look at where we are right now, this is the most important talk that I have ever given, because right now I'm speaking up not as an Irishman, not as a black man, but as a human being, and I see humanity on its knees, and it's time to get up off your knees and tell them no. So, to finish up, what I would like to say to you all is every single person here today, and I really mean, do you mind if I take a picture of you all? Because it's something else, man, it's something else. And the thing is, at the end of the day, colour matters not. Colour of hair matters not. What matters is, are you free to hug your loved ones? Are you free to be with people you love and not have somebody in a suit who's gone to a considerably better school tell you that they know better? They don't. They know what they're taught. And what they're taught is this: people represent wealth. That's why this country is being flooded. It is being flooded, and people say, don't use the word flooded. Come to Balbriggan and you'll see what diversity looks like. Gangs roaming all around towns in Ireland, and these are not Irish lads. These are people from other countries, and we've always welcomed people from other countries. The Irish are the most generous in the world, but there comes a point when you have to say, enough is enough. You cannot do this to the Irish people, and they tell you that you don't see it on RG, you don't read it in the Times, nobody will report on it. Why? Because it's part of the plan, because the banks that are behind the European bureaucrats want one thing and one thing only, and that is new consumers, so they can sell more shit to them. We wised up, we stopped buying it, but that's what this is about. And every person that comes to this country, whether they work, contribute or not, will spend the money they get here. It might be dole money, it might be wages, but in their minds, more people is better. Forget your culture, forget your customs, and that is not good enough. So all of you being here today is an incredible thing, and it's a beautiful sight to see, and I really, really thank you all for coming, and I thank Herman from the Freedom Party. Smile! Fantastic. Ladies and thanks again to Herman for being so open and smart, and he asked me to come and speak, and he didn't tell me what to say, and now that's a brave man. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you for coming, and as Dolores says, enough is enough.
Thank you, Kevin. That was wonderful. You're a fantastic addition to the party, and we're delighted to have you on board. I'd now like to welcome Mr. Alan Sweeney. Many of us have come a great distance here today. Alan is very practically demonstrating that we're a free people by walking around the country, and he's done it twice. Alan Sweeney from Galway, who's a member of our party, would like to address
you. Thank you for coming out today. All of you standing here is a clear sign that we're all here for one thing and one thing only, and that's freedom. And you should all stand proud in the fight for Irish freedom, especially in the times that we're in. The moment the government told me that I wasn't allowed to go 5 kilometres out of my home, that was the moment that I realised that we weren't living in a sovereign state anymore. We weren't living in a country in which we had appropriate power over anymore. And this is something that we had to fight against. I then went on and I saw an article where there was a 35% increase in homeless deaths. And then the Irish government posted about the fact that homeless figures had gone down in this country. And that was the point of where I said, this is the time to stand up and fight. I can't sit back anymore, I must fight for my country. So I decided to walk from Galway to Dublin to demonstrate that I am a free man in a free country, and nobody has a right to tell me on the land of where my family has been here since the 14th century and has fought and died for this country. Nobody had a right to tell me where I could or couldn't go, especially on the back of penal provisions or laws they brought in this year. After about 20 miles into my walk, the guard stopped me. Somebody had rationed me out. Somebody had told the guards that Alan Sweeney is going for a walk to Dublin. So the guard, he hopped out of the van, he looked at me and he goes, "Alan, I hear you're going for a walk." And I said, "Well, yeah, I'm off to Dublin." And I said, "I'm a free man in a free country, not breaking law, like social distancing, whatever else." And I went off and I basically told him that the reason why I'm doing this and the reason why I feel that I'm a free man I'm a free man in my own country is because my family has been here since the 14th century and has died for this country. And he asked me, "Who in your family has died for this country?" My family has been here for the past 600-700 years, and I'll keep fighting for this country in the same way that my ancestors have. Especially when there's injustice ongoing in this country every single day. And we have to fight against, we have to fight for ourselves, we have to fight for freedom, especially in the most tyrannical phase in Irish history that we've seen in the modern era. And we have to fight against it. So today, I'm going for another walk. Today, I'll be walking from Dublin to Galway this time. And no government politician, Leo Varadkar, Micheál Martin, not one of them is going to stop me. And believe me, if it takes me 6 days, 7 days, 8 days, 10 days, 20 days, I will get to Galway with my 2 feet on the basis that I am a free man in my country and they have no right to tell me where I can or can't go. The only way we can win this is by standing together. And by standing together, we will win the fight for freedom. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Alan. When we have that kind of idealism in our country, we will never be defeated. There are a couple of ladies with buckets there who will be going around shortly if you would like to make a final contribution. I know I've got quite a bit from a number of people, and thank you very much. As the last part of this evening, we'd like to call on Melissa O'Neill, who's an activist. She's a member of our party. She stood for our party in the last election. She's going to read from a very interesting document, a document that may yet save this country, may yet save our sovereignty and our freedom, and that is the Irish Constitution. And she's going to, which in my opinion is the finest document and the finest expression of Ireland's nationality. It is the ultimate conclusion of our lengthy struggle for independence and freedom. And Melissa is going to read from the preamble to that Constitution. Thank you.
Hello, the Irish freedom people. Manon na Éireann, Fear na Éireann, we are free. And from our rivers to our seas, the Irish people will be free. In the name of the most holy Trinity, from whom is all authority, from whom, as our final end, all sections, both men and states, must refer. We, the people of Éire, humbly acknowledge all our obligations to our divine Lord, Jesus Christ. Gratefully remembering their heroic and unremitting struggle to regain the rightful independence of our nation and seeking to promote the common good with due observance and prudence, justice and charity, so that dignity and freedom of all individual may be assured, true social order attained, the unity of our country restored, and concord established with other nations, do hereby adapt, enact, and give to ourselves this Constitution. And just to remember today, if we can please, even just for a moment, to remember the ambush that happened on the 28th of November, this time exactly 100 years ago. So just to bow our heads just for 1 second and remember those brave people that fought for our freedoms as we stand here today. God bless all.
Thank you, Melissa, and that concludes our meeting. I would like to enjoin everybody here to become involved actively in the Irish Freedom Party and to help us out in whatever way you can. We now have we're developing a common structure. We are in negotiations with Renua and Direct Democracy Ireland, and hopefully we will grow closer towards them. It's essential that we have a proper, effective opposition in this country, because we have become a one-party state effectively over the past number of years. There is no genuine opposition on the matters that really count. So I would ask you, as you leave here, to consider becoming actively involved with our party. And as I said, the collection bucket is going around. We can do with all the help we can get. Thank you very much for coming. There's leaflets and information at the table there if anybody wants to pick them up and tell you more about our party. I'd ask you to stand now for the national anthem. Thank you. All right, yeah, sorry. Thanks.